we currently get a very, very small percentage of the state revenue from corporate income tax because a number of the banks are changing to S corporations, LLCs, taxed as a partnership or an S corp. Very, very little of the state's revenue comes in through corporate income tax, and it's decreasing. The percentage of our income tax decreases that comes in that way. It is a very large cost for corporations to track this. It's a very large expense to the Department of Revenue to attempt to collect it. If we were to eliminate this provision, it would draw corporations to the state to have their headquarters here. We already have a number of corporations that are very interested in relocating to Missouri. You would see a dramatic net increase in jobs. It would be unique in the Midwest. There are obviously a number of other states that do not have a corporate income tax, like Texas, Nevada, Florida, a variety of other venues. But this would really make Missouri a major draw to have corporations locate their headquarters here. I really think that it would be a minimal short-term loss of revenue to the state, and it would be a long-term major increase to the state.
My numbers show about $400 million the state receives in corporate income and franchise tax. How would you wish to replace that revenue? Because obviously the infrastructure needs to be paid for. The education that you were talking about needs to be funded. We don't have our citizens with health care right now. How would you replace the income that you would detract by if we pass this bill?
Without addressing the health care issue, I think the issue is, and that's the reason why I phased it out as opposed to propose to phase out as opposed to just eliminating it all in 1 year. My preference would be to just eliminate it all in 1 year. I don't think that's very realistic. I think with the phase out, we would have an opportunity to see the businesses start coming, the attraction, the growth in industry, and it would more than make up for the loss.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Tracy Weddle, and I'm here representing the Missouri Chamber of Commerce, and we too would like to go on record in support of House Bill 1551 for many of the reasons that you've already heard here earlier, and I'm not going to reiterate all those. I just want to say that this is true broad-based tax relief and tax reform, and we do support that. Corporations will not be exempt from paying taxes just with the phase out of the corporate income tax because they're still paying a corporate franchise tax, which is still in place right now, and actually they're being double taxed because they're paying income taxes and property taxes, which is the value of the corporation, and then on top of that they're paying a corporate franchise tax. So we do support this bill. Also, it was talked about the administrative costs. There's not a lot of net gain, but there's also a cost of compliance to our members in these corporations. They pay millions of dollars. I know in the past the Department of Revenue has calculated what those costs are to those taxpayers, and they're significant. And I think that a lot of these corporations would take those net savings and in turn reinvest that back into the economy here in Missouri.
Tax policy is really kind of the third piece that helps you connect up, because if you have income, people are prospering. If you don't have a fair, adequate, and sustainable tax policy, you're not going to have the revenues necessary to make the investments in K-12 education and higher education that you need. And then we're not going to have the kind of educated workforce that you need to have to make sure you're attractive to the kind of employers we want to bring to Missouri. So kind of as an overarching thing, we want to make sure that the committee is considering the possibility that you need to have that kind of fair, adequate tax policy in order to make the whole thing work.
That we need to look at this in total in terms of how this program will impact our tax policies throughout the state and the different programs. As was mentioned, over a number of years, we have looked at tax credits as a means of economic development and funding various programs that the state provides. So we are wanting to make sure that this program will not have a serious negative impact on the development opportunities that have occurred over the last several years, which has resulted in close to $5 billion worth of economic development throughout the state in over 48 cities that have utilized this tool and technique to benefit economic development in small towns as well as the urban areas. So